Your offensive lineman of the week, Sebastian Tretola. Now, he's taking it home because of this trick play. That's a 6-yard touchdown pass coming from the left guard who motioned the quarterback position on a fake field goal and connected with a long snapper. Yeah, you deserve to go ahead and take home the offensive lineman of the week.
And the give is to Robinson, and he breaks free to the 5, to the 2, to the 1 touchdown.
Oh, my goodness.
He's called the nickname the bowling ball, and that was it right there.
The bowling ball, 5'9", 215. Oh, no, he's still up. Oh, my gracious.
Geez, that's a highlight film run for...
He morphed into Johnny Manziel.
Holy cow. That's like having 6 carries in one.
Breaking free is Robinson over the 40, over the 50. Quick race in the middle of the field. Cuts it back to the 20. He's headed for the end zone. He will score a touchdown.
Career day for Mississippi State's Josh Robinson Saturday, 198 yards. On the year, he's averaging 8 yards a carry in conference play. That is best among anybody in the league. He's rushed for over 195 yards on the road twice this season. He's the first conference back to do that since Arkansas's Darren McFadden 7 years ago. His team still number 1 after the win at Kentucky. Here's his coach, Dan Mullen.
You know, you look back, I'm pleased with last week's game of, like we continue to say, different guys step up, make plays when we need them to make plays for us, and you know, and find a way to win games. I think, you know, different guys have stepped up every game to make plays for us to help us win. So, you know, that's what I'll talk about for us when we're going to put a bunch of guys out there on the field. We rotate a lot of players at receiver. You know, it's one thing I don't worry. Billy handles it. He rotates those guys because, you know, and a lot of it, we want to keep guys fresh for 4 quarters, so guys in the 4th quarter are ready to go make plays. You know, and we don't really spend lots of time maybe designing specific plays for specific guys when they're in the game, and we expect them to make plays. And I think it really allows us that ability to rotate those guys, and I think it just shows the confidence that the coaches have, that Dak has, and all of those guys out there on the field. That you know, 2 guys that are listed as 2s on the depth chart are your top 2 receivers in a game. So for us, but that's kind of us. We're going to play a ton of guys. You know, a lot of different guys are going to touch the ball and really try to make it hard to lock in or key in on anybody in particular. You know, it's one of those things. We want to make people defend all 11 guys out there on the field, and you know, you know, and so when you have you know, your running back that's putting up big numbers, that can hit the home run and explosive plays, he draws a lot of attention. Well, that takes a lot of the pressure off of Dak, but also takes a lot of the attention off of Dak, which is going to allow him to make bigger plays. You know, you look at our receivers. I think we have 10 different wide receivers, or 10 different, not wide receivers, just 10 different guys have caught touchdown passes for us this year. I think that's a great deal too. You know, I mean, you know, we want to be, you know, when you talk about being a balanced offense, it's not always just about just run and pass and number of calls or yards. It is guys that are out there on the field that we're going to put guys out there that you have to defend. And if, you know, I mean, if we're going to have an advantageous matchup, we're going to put somebody in a position that can take advantage of that matchup. And a lot of it is the toughness, you know, and you look at the offseason with guys that have been in the program, that have been developed within the program for a while, you know, and been around and understand it. You know, we're here to play 60-minute football games, you know, and we go in we understand that the other team's going to make plays. You know, they're going to make plays on offense. They're going to make plays on defense. They're going to make plays in the kicking game. You know, and the key to that is when that happens, put the ball down, play the next play. You know, you're not always going to feel good. Things aren't always going to go your way during the course of a game. And, you know, I think when you have some maturity, which we have within our program, when those things start to happen, guys don't really worry that much about it. You know, they just, hey, there's absolutely nothing you can do about the play that just happened. You know, absolutely nothing. All you can do is worry about the next play. And I think our guys really understand that. And so, you know, they don't get caught up in any sort of the panic or letting a situation kind of slip too far out of control. I think injury-wise, we got out of there pretty healthy, I think. I mean, your typical bumps and bruises, you know, and I mean, want to get investment in the walking boots. I mean, because about 30 different guys, some got them on both feet walking around. But this time of the season, they're gonna, it's more of a fashion statement, I think, for our team than anything else this time of the year. For us, I think our focus is beating Arkansas. Again, that's like coach talk. But to me, as soon as you start thinking about more than the next play, more than the next even opponent, to get past that, you're not going to be very, very successul, And so for us, that's kind of been the approach. We'll worry about trying to beat Arkansas, and if we're able to do that, then our focus will go to UT Martin, which is a big homecoming game, even though it's not a conference game.
Coach and Stinch are back here with us, and you heard Dan Mullen talking about the fashion statement, the walking boot. But one player that he did mention that was sporting the boot is his Heisman Trophy watchman, Dak Prescott. So is that a concern coming out of that Kentucky game, even that he has the walking boot on? They said it's a precautionary measure, but Coach, that's something you probably don't want to see of the leader of your team.
Well, when you're on a championship run, Maria, like they are right now, you got to kind of try to protect your guy a little bit. And the bottom line is we know what got him to the point they're at right now. It's quarterback play. And part of that is the way he runs the football. He carried the ball 18 times for 88 yards Saturday. Here's what's concerning to me, because when you're on that championship run, they got to have him. He's got to be available. That's the key. He's got to be available. But if you look at the way they kind of organize their run game every week, they've got a tailback, Josh Robinson. He ran for 200 yards. He carries the ball, designed runs more than the tailback does. And at some point in the season, I would be concerned. I'm just saying, look, I'm not questioning anything because they've done a fantastic job. But if you could scale that back a little bit. He was sacked 3 times Saturday, got hit 5 on the interception. He took one right in the mouth. Plus the run game reps that he's getting. I just, at this point in the season, it happened last year, Matt, he got beat up near the end of the year. That would be my concern moving forward.
You look at it, because the design runs, you anticipate that eventually he's going to get hit. But the challenge is that when you're calling passes, you're kind of anticipating that you can try to keep them clean. That's the goal. That's what the 5, 6, 7 guys that are in protection, their job is to keep your quarterback upright. But he's taking shots in that too. And so you see this kind of a multiplier effect where over the course of a season, it's the cumulative, where you look at all these shots that the guy has taken, and will he have enough left in the tank where we've got some important football games to play yet here, guys. Let's make sure that we've got our signal caller. You can see when they entered conference play, they're getting Robinson more and more engaged in the running game. Not that he was ever departed from it, but 16 reps, then 17 carries, then 19, now 23 this past week. I think that you can see him, maybe his load will increase, especially on those designated runs where you allocate some of those carries away from your quarterback, knowing that if he's going to be taking shots in the passing game, let's give it to our running back and let him do what he's doing very, very well in Josh Robinson.
Let's talk a little bit about Mississippi State's defense, because I think what we saw was Patrick Towles go up and be able to carve up their D. He completed 24 of his 34 passes, 390 yards for the quarterback. Do you think that's more of Patrick Towles stepping up or Mississippi State defense? We're seeing a weakness there.
Well, I think that they've been exposed before on some big plays. If you look, there was 3 minutes and 53 seconds, I think, left in the third quarter, and they gave up a 50-plus yard touchdown pass in the secondary. When you throw for 401 yards, regardless of how the game unfolded, at points in that game, it was a 2-possession game. And so it's not like they had, their second or third team guys in there all over the place, which I know Mississippi State does a good job of substituting, and they stay with that. But when you give up 401 yards, that's a concern. Plus, Patrick Towles showed some athletic ability. He ran for another 123 in that game as well. So if you look at that, compared to what they did against LSU's defense the week before, a little concerning.
And it goes beyond just the quarterback play. And I like what you said there, Coach. It's the big plays that you have to be concerned about. And it wasn't all in the passing game. You got the big 67-yarder to open up the scoring, to even things up. If you look at all of Kentucky's scoring drives, their touchdown scoring drives, every single one of them had a big play. 67, a 58-yarder, a 48-yarder. The last drive had 2 15-plus yarders. They got to rein some of that stuff in, especially when you look at the fact that you've got Alabama, who's a pretty explosive offense.
Yeah, right around the corner. So Mississippi State trying to shore that up. But Kentucky has something to look forward to. I mean, Patrick Toll is playing very well against Mississippi State.
How about Sebastian Tretola? That became a household name in Arkansas when on Saturday he took a snap in the shotgun, rolled right, threw back left for a 350-pound touchdown. It's Brett Bielema's way of making a Saturday against UAB unforgettable. And for Sebastian, he did. Monday, Tretola talked about the moment and the response.
You know, it's been crazy. Offensive linemen definitely don't get this showtime and this stardom. You know, we're the big guys that block and protect the quarterback and our running back. So it's definitely a switch up. Oh, I mean, the sidelines went crazy when I threw it. I just seen everybody just going nuts. And the locker room was epic. Everybody just congratulating me, and it's half congratulations and half just pure shock, like what just happened. I would definitely leave that job to Brandon. I couldn't imagine doing that 40 or 50 times a game. It gets hectic back there.
It gets hectic back there. This game, by the way, over quickly for Arkansas. They had the ball 5 times in the first half. They scored a touchdown each time. Each drive lasted at least 7 plays. 4 of those went at least 60 yards. By the way, if you want more on Tretola, make sure you're watching SEC Nation Saturday at 10 a.m. They will have much more on him. Now, as for Arkansas's head coach, Brett Bielema.
We probably go into a game. I wouldn't necessarily call them trick plays. I just call them, I don't ever call them tricks. I want our guys to understand. I only call them if I expect them to have success, and I think that was the case on Saturday in particular. But we'll probably have, 3 or 4 things up our sleeve in every game, and we spend little to no time. One of the things that I always stress to my coaches is, I'm not going to eat up your time with something that may or may not get called, but we spent a total of probably 5 minutes on that play over a 3-week window to get it done. The fake against A&M in the punt game, we literally had run that probably less than 5 times since fall camp started. But it's things that engages the kids. For instance, I put it in that Tuesday after Alabama just because our guys were. It's kind of one of those morale boosters, Everybody, Tretola's got an engaging personality, which you guys obviously have seen to a certain extent. But I just knew it would go over big with our guys. The whole room got energized, and it kind of led out of my meeting because I did it right on the front of my offensive meeting. We didn't tell the defensive guys, so I was kind of having some fun with that. They didn't know anything about it. I was going to hit them, and then everybody just kind of got pumped. And then Jim goes in and has a nice offensive meeting. We went on and had a pretty good practice. So it's sometimes more mental things than anything. The good news is we still can get a lot better. I think we make certain strides and do a lot of really good things. We're getting more consistent up front at executing what we're asking them to do. I think BA can handle the throw game so much better than he was a year ago, and the guys that are catching it in the back end. I remember in particular I think it was the Alabama game, if I'm not mistaken, we came out of there with 0 drops. And to just come from where we were a year ago to leave a game at the wide receiver position, there were 0 drops. That's just huge momentum. I give a lot of credit to Michael. We're still probably, recruiting is going to be a huge force this year to get a couple receivers to help us depth-wise that, can make some difference in big moments. But yeah, we're moving in the right direction. It's kind of interesting to see Mississippi State and Dan. I believe this is his 6th year, and to go back to his first couple of years and see what they went through. And I know no one wants to talk about where we're going to be 4 or 5 years from now, but it's exciting that if you build a program the right way, like he's done in this conference, it shows where you can get. Well, again, I'd say the day when we can average rushing the football and throwing the football for 200 plus would be a great day. I think that's going to win you a lot of football games. We've gotten a little bit skewed in certain games, like the Texas Tech game. There just wasn't any sense in throwing the football. We were going to pound them and be able to win the game convincingly by doing that. Obviously, the Georgia game, when we were down by a little bit, we threw the football around a lot more. But I think if we can get to that number, I do know this. I know BA can throw the ball, and I know we got guys that can catch it. I think 9 guys caught balls on Saturdays. We have a lot of different options. I think the tight end game, when we have 2 or 3 tight ends that factor into the mix, we got 3 or 4 wideouts and a couple running backs that can catch the ball, whether it be a tailback or fullback. That's an exciting thing to be a part of.
Talked about a lot there, but I want to go back to the play. Not a trick play, right? The special play.
Yeah.
With Sebastian Tretola. As an offensive lineman, I'm sure you can appreciate the moment that he must have been feeling and dealing with. What do you expect was going through his mind and his body as that was happening?
Well, there's no way for me to know because I was never given the opportunity, Dari.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, shockingly, because I throw a very tight spiral. He, to me, he had to feel a lot of pressure because every husky kid in America, every one of us that ended up playing offensive line, the hopes and dreams were riding on this guy's success. I mean, as soon as you see him motion into the shotgun right there, and incidentally, he's under duress right here. The protection was not as good. I wonder if he took issue with his lineman afterwards and said, guys, you got to give me time back here. How about a pocket to work in? But he still delivered a strike, Coach. Off his back foot, incredibly athletic.
Going to the right, cross body to the left.
The arm strength, the touch.
As Booger said Saturday, which I thought was fantastic, the roll to the right as though there was ever a chance he was actually going to roll. He's not deking anybody on that defense, right? He's not running.
That's such a defensive lineman's perspective. I figured Booger would say something like that.
How long, as a coach, does it take to prepare something like that? He's worked on it for weeks at least. How long does it take to prepare it before you're comfortable enough to know? Because you're only going to get one shot at something like this in all likelihood.
Well, first of all, it's funny how those things start. Usually you're out of practice beforehand and guys are messing around and they throw a ball and you see a guy and you go, wow, that offensive lineman, he can really throw it. Then you say, hey, let's put something in for the guy and see what happens. The locker room goes crazy. The sidelines go crazy. But you have to work it for 3 to 4 weeks, Dari. There's no question about it. You introduce it. You work it a couple times, a couple times a week for 3 weeks to a month. You finally feel good about it. But it's a team chemistry deal. I like it. I thought the timing was great. It was the UAB game. They need something good to happen.
Yeah.
Something fun to happen right now. They haven't won any SEC games. This was a great time to do it, but they worked it. They felt good enough to do it, and my man executed it.
Just change the narrative a little bit, right? I mean, what are we talking about now? We're not talking about the record. We're talking about the fact that they let a 350-pounder throw a touchdown. It'll help on the recruiting trail. Yeah. It helps the morale of the locker room.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And Bielema played it off well. And look, you come to Arkansas as an offensive lineman,
throw a touchdown.
We'll make you famous.
Yeah.
That's essentially what he said. Maria.
Back in football, top-ranked Mississippi State hosts Arkansas this Saturday at 7:15 on ESPN2. Now the Razorbacks, they're looking to get their first win in conference play against the Bulldogs, and it is a team that leads the SEC in total offense, so it won't be that easy, Razorback fans. Did you know that there have only been 2 quarterbacks in the last 15 years to have at least 15 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns in the first 7 games of the season? Well, one of them is Dak Prescott. The other one you might know. He's currently on SEC Network, Tim Tebow. So let's hear what the coaches of this matchup have to say, Mullen and Coach Bielema.
Moving on to a very, very difficult Arkansas team, a team that plays excellent defense. They got a great defensive line. They run to the football, very, very aggressive. Style defense that they play. They've been very successful against a lot of high potent offenses this year. Really, you look at, besides a couple of big plays at the end of the game, slowed down A&M, which is, everybody knows, one of the top offenses in the country, and really shut down Alabama, who's a big explosive offense as well. So a great challenge with the physicality of their defense and how fast they are on defense. For us on the offense side of the ball, what makes it a challenge with how good they are on defense. You don't get many opportunities at the ball. They got the biggest offensive line in the United States, including pro football. So they're a big physical outfit, 2 of the top tailbacks in the country, and 2 guys over 700 yards already this season, and at the tailback position. Coming into this game this week, it'll be obviously every conference game is a huge challenge, and they're just another great SEC team that we're going to have to find a way to win.
Have you talked to John about installing any pass plays for your offensive linemen this week?
No, but I did hear it from them. Blaine actually can throw the ball. He's probably got the strongest arm on the team. They have little competitions. I think he threw it 75 yards the other day. He got a hose, Blaine Clausell does. He's up there with our 2 young quarterbacks. The older guys can't throw it as far as those guys can. So I guess if we ever had like a really long Hail Mary, we'd have to figure something else out and put a left tackle in and put Blaine at quarterback, because I think he could probably throw it 75 to 80 yards. So But that's, you know what? You look at Arkansas, no wonder they're able to recruit such good linemen. You know, I mean, I have not. I'm sure Brett goes into the house, sits down with them, draws up the play and says, you know, we're going to get you as a lineman. You're going to be on plays of the week on SportsCenter throwing touchdown passes for us. So it's something I got to look at in recruiting circles to keep up with Brett and how he's getting those good linemen in there.
The opportunity to go and play number one on the road in the evening will be a great opportunity for our guys. Obviously, Mississippi State is a very impressive football team. Played them a great game a year ago, and obviously they've taken from where they were a year ago and ran very, very well. They're statistically very good in many categories offensively. Defense, one of them that's glaring is they're really good in the red zone, so they're effective in the kick game. So a tremendous task for us, but one I think our guys are excited to play in. Cowbells revved up on the iPod for practice simulation. Every stadium when you get on the road, and I'm not demeaning what we're going to see there, but it's just, you learn to play in those environments and have a little bit of fun with it. I think going on the road at Auburn is going to help us here. I think to a certain extent the A&M game and those games have got to be able to help you now, to live through them and persevere. And it's going to be a very unique opportunity. I know that a lot of people have made comments about playing there, so I'm excited to get there.
I wish I would have kept count of how many times each coach said physical and aggressive. I mean, that's the way that they describe the match. It's going to be one of those games, right? Both of these teams physically imposing, one impose their will on the other squad. So, Coach, what do you think is going to ultimately separate these two teams in this matchup?
This time of the year, I always look at how teams are playing, because you have enough of a variety to really look at it, how teams are playing within conference play. In other words, look at the stats and look at the games against other SEC teams. So on the outside, people would say, wow, Arkansas, they rush for 260 some odd yards a game. Well, that's true, but if you peel back the onion and you look at what they do versus SEC teams, they only average a little over 160. Conversely, if you look at Mississippi State in SEC play, they average over 280 yards. They're number 2 in the league in running the football. This is going to be a trench game. It's going to be a test of wills. And then the second thing that jumps out to me in league play is that both teams got to protect the football. In league play, now they've both only played 4 games in league play. They've both turned the ball over 9 times. The difference is Mississippi State's got the ball back 9 times. Arkansas's only got it back 4 times. So turnover margin becomes huge in this game as well.
It's factored into some of these recent matchups that Arkansas has faced in the conference. And another challenge, I think, for the Razorbacks is that you've got this 0-16 number hanging over your head in the conference play. And now you're facing the best team maybe in the nation, and you're going on the road for the first time in over 4 weeks now. And so all of those things adding up to, you got a feel-good moment, you got a nice win over UAB. They need to have success early in this ball game. They need to have something to feel good about and gain some confidence versus Mississippi State, because you start talking about a physical, aggressive type of a football game. Let one of those guys, one of those teams feel like they're alpha, like they're dominant over the other, and that thing can snowball on you pretty quickly, especially when you've got one team that has struggled as mightily as they have in the Arkansas Razorbacks. I think it is imperative that they have some success early in this one. They come away with points early in this one. Otherwise, I think at home, Mississippi State could pile on to the Razorbacks at the end of this game.
Or I think, let's go the other way, this still could be a very dangerous game if Arkansas does get that early momentum. Because I'm going to tell you, when they get rolling with that big offensive line and a couple of good things happen, to me, this is a very dangerous game for Mississippi State, and this is going to kind of tell who they are moving forward, I believe, because if they can get a good, solid win here, that's going to set them up for the rest of the schedule.
UT Martin, then you got Alabama on the other side of that one. Maybe they're looking ahead a little bit. Either way, both of these squads got work to do.
That trap, we talked about it. Could it be a trap game?
Could be a trap game.
Could be a trap game. Coach and Stinch said it.
And the give is to Robinson, and he breaks free to the 5, to the 2, to the 1 touchdown.
Oh, my goodness.
He's called the nickname the bowling ball, and that was it right there.
The bowling ball, 5'9", 215. Oh, no, he's still up. Oh, my gracious.
Geez, that's a highlight film run for...
He morphed into Johnny Manziel.
Holy cow. That's like having 6 carries in one.
Breaking free is Robinson over the 40, over the 50. Quick race in the middle of the field. Cuts it back to the 20. He's headed for the end zone. He will score a touchdown.
Time now to bring into the show, I believe it's a third time this season, I think one of our favorites, Josh Robinson, Mississippi State tailback. And I want to go back through a couple of the runs, because I'm telling you, man, we're in studio, me, McElroy, Booger, we're watching these runs. Our jaws are on the floor. Take us through the one that everybody's talking about now, where you go in, you find traffic, you go left, you change direction, you go around right, you end up with a nice pickup. What was that run? What are you thinking as that's happening?
You just got to run as a tailback. You got to have the running back instincts, and I just kept running, and don't call me bowling ball for nothing. So it got defenders, bouncing off them, and I just happened to reverse field. But I did that a lot in high school, so you might catch that Saturday. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I got to YouTube some Josh Robinson high school video.
YouTube J. Rob. That's what you do.
I'm going to. And I don't know if you know this, because I'm sure you were busy doing something on Saturday night, not watching our final show. But we set that run with some bowling ball, bowling pin sound effects.
Yes, sir. I seen that. I enjoyed it too.
Okay. I'm glad you saw it. There was another run. I think it was in that third quarter. You go through the middle. You end up with big 90, Melvin Lewis on your back. And I'm telling you, you carried the guy for 5 yards. And why is that a big deal? Because you give up 105 pounds to the man. Do you remember that run?
I really don't. I'm just a consistent runner. I just try to get positive yards every time I run the ball, and just play my role and make sure we get the win. That's all I'm trying to do.
Well, there was a stretch in the third quarter. I think you had 3 straight gains of 11 or 12 yards. You got a first down every time. I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, go to the sideline. At what point, Josh, do you ever get tired?
I don't get tired. No, I'm playing with you. That's Gates. But no, you just got to be consistent as a running back. You got to have great condition, and that's what I try to do during the summer and during my off season. Now, showing up what you plant is what you'll harvest. So that's what I'm getting now.
When you make, you have these types of runs that a lot of people were talking about. How much do you take any gratification, if at all? And I'm not saying you do, Josh, from watching them later.
I mean, you just got to go back and watch film, and you got to criticize yourself. You got to be your biggest critic, and I don't really praise myself until the end of the year. That's when I really see what's all going on.
All right, well, there's something else that's getting a lot of attention lately. It's a little uncomfortable to discuss here, Josh, with you, but I'm going to. There's a lot of conversation, Josh, about your butt, okay? Dan Mullen mentioned your butt. He said it's big and round. You said that's why women come watch you play, Josh. Why is your backside getting all of this attention suddenly?
Well, the Kardashians might be some kin to me. Hey, I don't know, but I can't say too much because my girlfriend, she don't like too many women watching my behind. But I want to give a special shout out to Michelle. And I want to give a special shout out to my 2 little sisters, Desire and Deshae. Their birthday, on the 24th, 31st. Oh. And my girlfriend's birthday is tomorrow, so I got a little surprise for you.
You do? You going to let us in on this surprise? Or
you might have to come you might have to come see.
Oh, so now you got 2 sisters and a girlfriend whose birthday is all in the next few days. I would like to find out.
Yes, sir.
Do you splurge a little bit here? Does the girlfriend get more than the sisters? How do we play this here, Josh?
Well, they all 3 got a big part of my heart. So, I mean, you just got to balance it out. Just like Dan Mullen like to balance the run and the pass. You got to balance it out. Psycho defense, insane offense.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about real quick this team that comes to your place next week, Arkansas, right? We know that you can run the football. What do you think of the way they run the football?
Oh man, they got great backs and utmost up front. They got the biggest line in football. You know what? Oh my goodness. You know what them boys look like? They look like refrigerators just coming at you. you just can't describe them O-linemen that they have. So they got great O-line and they got great backs to run behind.
Did you see Sebastian Tretola throw a touchdown pass? Their big 300.
Oh man, I got a cousin like that. Hey, he can throw a little ball too now.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, last time we had you on, you got nicely trimmed. You know, you got the haircut. How do you assess your hair at this particular moment, Josh? People are paying attention.
I got that new dread going on, but it ain't too fresh today. But maybe next week it'll be a little fresher.
There it is. There it is. All right, there he is. I think he's America's favorite tailback, the human bowling ball, Josh Robinson.
Yes, sir. And hey, you go ahead and pick up your phone, go to IG. We call it the Instagram, and type in Josh 13 Robinson. Go ahead and get them follows up. I don't get tired.
Josh 13 Robinson. Josh, always good having you on, man. Have some fun this weekend.
Yes, sir. Roger that.
Let's see what's going on around campus there in Starkville. Brought to you by Bank of America. Josh Robinson in his career high 198 on the ground lived up to the nickname the human bowling ball. 142 of those yards came after contact. He and defensive tackle Caleb Ewells became the latest Bulldogs to earn weekly conference awards. In fact, every week Mississippi State's played this year, one of those dogs have been recognized with a weekly award. That means there are 6 Mississippi State Bulldogs who have won a total of 10 weekly awards.
And lastly, Trevor will appreciate this one. Sebastian Tretola, a 350-pound left guard, throwing for a 6-yard touchdown during Arkansas's win over UAB. Todd, what are his quarterback draft prospects, perhaps?
I like the touch. I like hanging in the pocket, staring down the gun barrel. The only other 350-pounder I've ever seen throw like that, Vince Wilfork.
Because you've never seen me throw. And there's a reason for that. By the way, 350.
Have you ever scored one in a game, though?
Whoa! Now look at the number, people. Number 46.
You 4-6.
Number 46 for the Jets. This is the only touchdown I've ever scored in my life.
In bounds, too.
At any level. Oh, I tiptoed in the back.
You were pretty.
I had that plan. Here's the thing, though.
You were covered pretty hard there.
When they put my number back to 64 the next year, I felt oppressed. I felt liberated by having that 46 number.
But that was a game winner.
That was a game winner.
That was a game winner.
Against my old team. But here's the thing for Tretola. Offensive linemen like him have amazing, they're like an eagle trapped in a chicken coop. And when you let them out, they can do that.
An eagle trapped in
You just ruined it.
I don't even know what that means.
I'm giving credit to the Razorback is what I'm doing.
So Arkansas in a unique look. And they will snap it. Oh, my goodness. Is that Tretola going to throw it back? Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Arkansas. Luke Rossi comes up with the reception. That is unreal.
Tretola just gave the Heisman.
The sidelines went crazy. When I threw it, I just seen everybody just going nuts. And the locker room was, epic. Everybody, just congratulating me, and it's half congratulations and half just pure shock, like what just happened.
All right, 350 pounds, Arkansas guard Sebastian Tretola, the heaviest player on the Razorbacks roster. That's quite a feat. Tretola began his career at Nevada before transferring to football powerhouse Iowa Western Community College. Last week, the San Bernardino, California native lined up at quarterback for a fake field goal last week and threw a 6-yard touchdown pass on his very first collegiate pass attempt. Kickoff returns for touchdowns. That's pretty awesome to see, right? A Hail Mary for a touchdown, even more exciting. But come on, can we all agree the best type touchdowns are fat guy touchdowns? They're all jiggling. It's just a thing of beauty, right? All right, after watching Arkansas' Sebastian Tretola throw for a touchdown last weekend, the question is the Heisman Trophy really out of his reach?
So Arkansas in a unique look. And they will snap it. Oh, my goodness. Is that Tretola going to throw it back? Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Arkansas.
What if I told you an offensive lineman could win the Heisman Trophy?
I saw him throw it, and DF catch it immediately. I mean, it was the funniest and most awesome play I've ever been a part of.
It was a play that would launch one Razorback into a previously unforeseen level of fame.
I mean, I don't think any other play is up there with it. It's not, I got out there, I did what I needed to do. I made a play, and I made a great one.
I think Sebastian Tretola has a chance to be the most versatile football player in college football since Gary McFadden.
I just found out actually had a 480 QB rating. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that's one of the best in the country.
I think the QB rating tells it all. I'm flawless in my technique. What I do is impeccable, and I work to be the greatest, and I think I've achieved that.
I've grown up in Arkansas all my life and seen a lot of quarterbacks, and to me, I mean, he has the arm of Ryan Mallett, the legs of Matt Jones, and the looks of Brandon Allen, and he's a total package.
The play drew the admiration of teammates, fans, and media members alike. But as Sebastian would soon discover, not everyone felt the same enthusiasm for greatness.
I was an eligible receiver on that play. I was wide open, and he threw it to Allen, the long snapper. He's always the lucky one.
You know, Adam has all the talent in the world. He's good at kicking, but everyone knows that I have the much better hands, and so it's an easy choice for Sebastian.
I respect Adam. Obviously, that's one of my receivers, one of my guys. But the fact of the matter is, I'm the playmaker. I'm the guy that chooses what to do, and I made a great play. And if Adam's mad about that, well, he can take his business somewhere else.
Despite those troubles, Sebastian's play launched him into immediate consideration for national awards, including the Heisman Trophy.
Sebastian just, he earned this, and I think, he should be up for the Heisman this year.
You know, Sebastian's got poise, versatility, he's a natural leader, and he's got the stats to back it up. The question is, why shouldn't he, not why should he?
I wake up every morning, and, I brush my teeth with greatness, I comb my hair with greatness, and I strike a Heisman pose with greatness.
Do I really have to answer that?
I mean, yeah, we would really appreciate it.
Vote for Sebastian.
Vote for me, Sebastian Tretola, for Heisman.
Sometimes we hype these athletes early. We see it often, they flame out. But Sebastian Tretola, Heisman Trophy guy, can he give Dak Prescott a run for his money?
Well, he's doing it at the right time. He's making the move when it has to be made. You see guys come to the forefront in late October. Johnny Manziel in particular comes to mind. His quarterback rating speaks for itself. What are we doing?
You know what? It is fun, though. It is fun. Arkansas Razorbacks fans haven't had a whole lot of winning lately, so to see some smiles and they get closer and closer, they're trying, okay? But then again, they got the #1 team in the country they're going to have to face. Tretola and the Hogs visit Starkville to take on top-ranked undefeated Mississippi State. Coming off that win at Kentucky. That was keyed by Josh Robinson's career-high 198 yards on the ground. The human bowling ball's elevated his play in conference, right? 8 yards per carry in the conference game, and that leads the SEC. There he is. Ping! I guess that's more of an aluminum bat, maybe not a bowling ball, but he absolutely torched the Wildcats. I think all 11 of them on that play. 198 yards, 2 touchdowns last week in the Bulldogs' 45-31 win in Lexington. Yet another weapon for the #1 team in the country to have to deal with. Josh Robinson, Dak Prescott. That's quite a 1-2 punch, Greg McElroy. Arkansas, who are they going to stop first?
Well, it's so difficult to stop Dak Prescott. Josh Robinson's great. I'm not taking anything away from his performance, particularly against Kentucky. 198 yards on 23 carries. He was phenomenal. The amount of tackles broken. But look what Dak Prescott can do. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs. He knows how to make the players around him better, Josh Robinson included. He's outstanding in the pocket. His decision-making is extremely precise. He has a great feel for Dan Mullen's scheme. Where is his flaw? I've yet to find it at this point. With the exception of occasional missed throws, he's near flawless on the season so far.
A lot of these guys, when they have this pressure put on them, like in a Heisman Trophy, you kind of see them get a little bit caught up. We haven't seen that out of Dak. But as a team, you were part of an Alabama team that was highly ranked. What was that pressure like being the #1 team in the country for a few weeks? Pretty tough to deal with?
Well, at first it does become a little bit difficult. You saw them, and they talked about it. They were very open about it. They say, we didn't play great, especially in the first half. We didn't have our best stuff in Lexington. So I think part of that is talking about it, being aware of the fact. And when you are the #1 team in the country, and you don't have to be 1, you can be 2, 5, wherever it may be, when you're up there in the rankings, teams are going to throw some things at you from a tendency standpoint that you wouldn't necessarily see. You've watched film all week. And then you get out on Saturday, and the defense that you're seeing is completely different from what they ran in previous games. So that's what you have to prepare for more than anything else.
How does Arkansas stop Mississippi State? Simple. How do they do it?
Well, they have got to be able to get pressure by that front four. And Darius Philon, Trey Flowers. Darius Philon might be the most disrupted defensive tackle in the league. He reminds me a lot of Sheldon Richardson, the outstanding defensive tackle from Missouri a couple years ago. Now the defensive rookie of the year in the NFL with the New York Jets. Very similar body types, very similar explosiveness. They have got to be able to stop that run and get pressure on Dak Prescott without having to bring an added safety into the box, because putting those corners on island could be trouble for the Razorbacks.
It'd be one more week that Razorback fans have to worry about that little drought that's going on in the SEC. That game's going to kick off 7:15 on ESPN2. Dak Prescott total yards or Arkansas's rushing yards. He's been putting up like 200 passing, 100 rushing. Dak Prescott, Arkansas's rushing yards. What you got?
I got to go with Dak Prescott. He's going to have a 200, 100. That's pretty much what's going to happen. He's done it almost every game this year, or he has done every game, and he's been terrific. Arkansas, on the other hand, has also been fantastic running the football, but they're going up against a very formidable.
You know they're going to be out in force down at Davis-Wade Stadium in Starkville, where Mississippi State has their first home game as the #1 team in the nation. They're playing Arkansas, Kelly, and that means they got to deal with that big-time, big guy passing attack for the Hogs.
Well, Tess, you know, the Bulldogs haven't lacked for excitement this season for Arkansas. It's been a little harder to come by, but think about this. Dak Prescott has 15 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns, and 1 receiving touchdown. Go back to week 3. His wide receiver, Jamion Lewis, threw Prescott a 24-yard touchdown pass by way of a double pass. I mean, who doesn't love a good trick play? So that brings me to my trivia question for the day. What does one of the SEC's best receivers, Jamion Lewis, have in common with one of the SEC's biggest linemen? That would be Arkansas's Sebastian Tretola. Well, the answer is that both of them, as quarterbacks, have a nearly perfect record.
Among the pitches and the recruiting visits, you can come here, you can be a quarterback.
You can be a quarterback. Come here and live your dream.
I think the proof is in the pudding. I just went out there and threw a touchdown pass.
Tretola left is the play that has made Arkansas's 350-pound left guard, Sebastian Tretola, the big man on campus.
I saw him throw one day, and I was kind of like, oh, do that again. Let me run her out. And Coach B was watching, and he's like, Sebastian, you do that again?
I drew this for my wife about 1 o'clock the night before. I come home from work late, and one of our agreements is I show her trick plays. She was looking for a piece of paper to write something down, and all she found was my play. She wrote ice on it, got the ice, and threw it away.
A couple days later, he calls me in his office and has Tretola left drawn up on a piece of paper, and my mind was blown.
So the play was created for him.
Absolutely, 100%. There isn't any other lineman that I'm knowing that can throw that ball.
When I first saw it in practice, I thought, there's no way this is going to work.
But this is a little bit of the beginning. This is the orphan stages of what the play eventually became.
With just over 9 minutes left in the first half against UAB, the Razorbacks failed to convert on 3rd and goal. That's when Tretola left, went from paper to playbook.
He goes, we're going to run Tretola left. And I kind of got big-eyed. I was like, oh, my God, he's serious. This is about to happen. And he kind of like chuckles. He's like, you want to take your gloves off?
I didn't even get told it was getting called. And I kind of saw him shifting back and caught it, started rolling out. And I think he realized people were actually going to chase him this time.
As I start to drop back, it seems like he is taking forever to get off of the block. And I'm just watching D up like, oh my God, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go. So I'm just, I'm keep dropping back. Finally, I see him shed it. And as soon as he sheds that D in and turns around, I just let it go.
And they will snap it. Oh my goodness. Is that Tretola gonna throw it back? Are you kidding me? Touchdown Arkansas. That is unreal.
I was a little nervous he'd thrown it too high. He threw a great spiral. He made it easy for me.
As I start standing up, I start hearing the crowd like roaring, and I'm like, I just scored a touchdown.
In football, you live in a moment. It is another great indication of the personality of this team and what we got going.
You're the fat guy that threw the touchdown. So literally, it's everybody. Great touchdown, and it's handshakes and high fives, and it was great.
As Brett Bielema said in his halftime interview of that game, come to Arkansas if you're a lineman
We will make you famous. Now, that was a carefully planned, well-executed recruiting pitch, if I have ever heard one. But his coach told me he knows they have a daunting task ahead playing #1 Mississippi State. And yet, for all the heartbreak his team has endured this season, holding on to fun moments like Tretola left says something really special for this team's energy. Now, Coach Mullen was not about to let Bielema and his O-linemen steal the spotlight this week, so he made note that his 6'7", 315-pound lineman Blaine Clausell has a hose. He said he's thrown the ball as far as 75 yards in practice recently.
He said if they have a Hail Mary situation, he's actually going to let him rip one downfield there. By the way, Tretola's a big guy. His personality is even bigger. He was
the
great.
fact that he threw it to the long snapper, to me,
you loved it.
What? Everything about that, I loved it, man.
Well,
long snappers are people too.
Timmy and I know.
Cole is not putting a lineman over Dak Prescott if you need the Hail Mary to win the game.
Come on. Timmy and I know that there are big men that can throw the ball. Oh, can he throw the ball? Yesterday we sent the crew out with Marcus. I haven't seen the video yet, but this is Marcus, Timmy. Oh, going right for that upright from the 30-yard line. Oh yeah, accuracy too.
You got
Marcus can spin it a little bit. I mean, he can spin
love
it.
this celebration. Yeah, when we were at Auburn, we were throwing it around.
Oh, flick of the wrist.
That was when we got to see your hands.
That wasn't good at all. We don't need to talk about that. So Dan Mullen's getting ready now for Brett Bielema and Arkansas. He caught up with Shannon State.
Coach, internally, you guys have acknowledged but not focused on being ranked #1 in the country. But when you look at the external expectations, how do you think you guys have handled it?
You know, I think they've handled it pretty well. I think they're getting a lot of attention when they're out around campus, from when they're going to class, when they're from their friends back home. But they understand when it's time to work, it's time to work, and that we really haven't accomplished all that much. And for us to accomplish our goals, what we want to accomplish, to compete try to win the SEC West, we have got to have unbelievable focus on the task at hand, and that task now is Arkansas.
So let's talk about Arkansas. You said today that perception is different than reality when looking at a team who's lost 16 SEC games. Why?
Well, I mean, you watch them. They're a very, very physical team, a lot of talent out there on the field. And, they've put themselves in position to win a lot of games. They just haven't taken that final step to get that win, which is not easy to do in this league. I mean, there's so many talented teams and top teams here in the league. But they have a lot of talent, a very physical team, play really well on defense, play really well on offense with playmakers. And I think it's certainly going to be a huge challenge for our guys today.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you, Shannon. Of course, that game will be on ESPN2 tonight. Shannon will be part of the broadcast team at 7:15. Listen, Arkansas is big up front, right? Mississippi State's defensive line, and they rotate them in 1A and 1B. They are huge. Marcus, that run defense matches up here.
I love the matchup because I think Mississippi State's strongest suit to their football team is the front seven. And these guys defend plays like you're supposed to defend plays, downhill and rough. And I think Arkansas has made their niche on being able to run and physically dominate opponents and garner up a lot of rush yards. With Mississippi State's defensive front, and not only just the front, the ability to rotate and keep guys fresh and continue to defend the run for 4 quarters of the game could spell problems for Arkansas.
Marcus, I completely agree with you that one of the best things Mississippi State does defensively is stop the run. But also a key for Arkansas is that they wear people down with that big offensive line, fullbacks, multiple tight ends, and big running backs. But what Mississippi State has is depth. Last week they played 25 guys on defense. 25 guys just on defense. That is really impressive, and that is going to really help them in the 3rd and 4th quarter this week.
Absolutely.
Paul, at what point does Arkansas's Brett Bielema need to get one of these wins?
Tonight would really be nice.
It would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's running out of opportunities this year, and I think it would be very difficult for him, as popular as he is, as much energy as his program has, to go 0 for the SEC 2 consecutive years. Tonight, it's a puncher's chance. A little better shot later in the season.
Still feel like it's coming, though, Marcus. I mean, they're right there.
You have to, and we've talked about them being able to make those plays at the end of ball games in order to secure victory. I think we keep talking about, just like you alluded to with Florida, At some point, we're going to have to say Arkansas needs to win or something needs to change. And I think what's happening with Coach B right now is that he's trying to get this team to a point where they're down at the end of those games and finding somebody or some way to win a football game in the fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, that point for change, that's not even close right now. I think they're going in the right direction. And you also have to look at 5 teams in the top 10. 5 teams that they played in the top 10. That means one of those teams, has to drop for Arkansas to move up. They're playing against great competition, and they're rising to those other teams' levels. And eventually, all this talent, they will get a big win. But it's also important that we have to understand they have to learn how to win. A team doesn't just rally together and say, oh, we're a great team, we know how to win. No, you learn how to win together, and once they do that, they will knock off a team.
Number one, not the only thing on the line tonight at Mississippi State. Number one in the Heisman race as well. The official voters at ESPN polled every week, and this is Heismanology. Dak Prescott clearly defined a 1-2 here. Prescott and Mariota claiming all the first place ballots. They claimed 95% of the total available points. Huge gap between Prescott, Mariota, and everybody else in this race, but Prescott's receiving 55%. It does. Number one team in the country is on ESPN2 tonight at 7:15. Dak Prescott leads the Heismanology poll. Brock and Shannon will be on the broadcast. Arkansas at number one, Mississippi State.
I think Arkansas plays well, but I think Mississippi State matches up with them too well, and they also have Dak Prescott. I think Mississippi State rolls.
Mississippi State has too much to do the rest of this season to lose this game. I'm going with State.
Yeah, it's time for Arkansas to finally win a game, but it's not going to be tonight in Starkville.
This is a tough one going up against that. They are not a flimsy number one. They've got strength at every layer of that team.
Arkansas at Mississippi State last week against Kentucky. State ran for 4 touchdowns. Josh Robinson, nicknamed the bowling ball, ran for 2 touchdowns. Dak Prescott 2 of them. This game will be a manhood game, boy.
No doubt. Meanwhile, the cowbell crowd rings in Mississippi State's first ever home game as a number one, primetime on ESPN2, as the Hogs continue to seek that elusive SEC win. It took a halftime session from Dan Mullen to settle his team down. Just take a few deep breaths, learn how to play as number one last week at Kentucky. Dak Prescott says he's 100%. He caused a fuss. He was in a walking boot for a few days earlier this week. He says pure precaution. He's averaging 8 yards a run in the SEC. Says he wants to limit the contact, get down more in the stretch run. That's a smart idea. For Arkansas, a 5th straight conference opponent ranked in the top 10. That's a first for any team ever. Hogs are good in the red zone. They got to work the power running game, but State is stout in the red zone. They've only allowed 8 touchdowns in 23 red zone trips. Bulldogs front will love a challenge like this today. Here's Dan Mullen with Shannon Spake.
Coach, internally, you guys have acknowledged but not focused on being ranked number one in the country. But when you look at the external expectations, how do you think you guys have handled it?
I think they've handled it pretty well. I think they're getting a lot of attention when they're out around campus, from when they're going to class, when they're from their friends back home. But they understand when it's time to work, it's time to work, and that we really haven't accomplished all that much. And for us to accomplish our goals, what we want to accomplish, to compete try to win the SEC West, we have got to have unbelievable focus on the task at hand, and that task now is Arkansas.
So let's talk about Arkansas. You said today that perception is different than reality when looking at a team who's lost 16 SEC games. Why?
Well, you watch them. They're a very, very physical team, a lot of talent out there on the field. And, they've put themselves in position to win a lot of games. They just haven't taken that final step to get that win, which is not easy to do in this league. I mean, there's so many talented teams and top teams here in the league. But they have a lot of talent, very physical team, play really well on defense, play really well on offense with playmakers, and I think it's certainly going to be a huge challenge for our guys today.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Always a smile at the end there. Thank you, Coach Mullen. 16 straight losses in the SEC for Arkansas. What a way to end the schneid there, to go on the road and knock off a number one. As Mullen said, they've been close, haven't figured out how to finish the deal.
Des, you didn't want to critique his attire, did you?
Well, I thought that was a nice fashion statement. Nice medium Adidas Bulldog polo.
He borrowed it from Jesse Palmer.
Like a Jesse.
It's interesting. I think when you look at this matchup, both these teams are very similar and they both want to run the football. They both want to be physical. But, I mean, Mississippi State can pass the football. Mississippi State's weakness is their secondary. I don't think Arkansas can exploit that. So I think this is a pretty good win for Dan Mullen and Mississippi State.
But at the same time, this is, to me, the best duo of any backs in the SEC, arguably the country, when you look at Jonathan Williams and Alex Collins. They both average it about 15 times. They're going to carry it about 15 times a game, averaging 39 points. I think they're going to score today against Mississippi State. But as David said and Chris said, I think they're going to have a very hard time, like everybody, stopping Dak Prescott, the power running between the tackles, and setting up the play-action pass.
Yeah, Arkansas's problem is going to be trying to get the play-action pass off. You know, they can't throw the ball beyond 12 yards, and I think that's going to be an issue. I was really concerned with Mississippi State a week ago against Kentucky, coming out the #1 team in the country, 2 weeks off. How would they handle that layover? I thought they did a good job. Struggled a little bit early, but finally put Kentucky away late in the fourth quarter with a kickoff return for a touchdown. So I thought they responded well.
You like
this
them
week
today
they were
Arkansas?
big over Arkansas.
Do you really? I think it's going to be a lot close. I just think
Arkansas can't pass. Like you said, the back end of the Bulldogs' defense is their weakness.
I just think that bullseye, that undefeated season, that #1 ranking, sometimes you get to week 9, week 10, you're not used to it. It carries a lot of weight. I think they're going to win the game.
Yeah.
I just think that Arkansas could compete.
At what point did they lose confidence, too?
Who's that?
Arkansas.
Yeah, well,
because they were so close. And then,
so close. Yeah.
And so close, and then it gets frustrating, and they got stomped last time by Georgia in the SEC play.
State, of course, has those 2 road tests. They'll be underdogs at Alabama, and then, of course, the Egg Bowl end of the year in Oxford.
Big one.
Cook, strong leg, true freshman, as he picks away to Hatcher and Mitchell. And here's Keon Hatcher. As he is met at about the 20-yard line by Coleman. And Williams with a good hole and a nice spin, driving ahead for a first down to open up this game. Here's Allen now, gets it out quickly. Cornelius turns it upfield and out past midfield, moving the chains again. This is a pitch to Damon Mitchell. He's going to throw back. Instead, he tucks, runs, and it serves him well. That was a good decision. 1 for 1 on the year. This from 36. And good rotation and trajectory for McFain. To pass again. And that ball is intercepted by Alan Turner. So Prescott.
Just the extra effort by guess who? Trey Flowers, the guy that does nothing but show that play in and play out. A little bit of contact on Dak and a couple real poor throws there.
Quickly, they get it to Hatcher, who picks up a nice block. Here's Collins. What a nice move by Alex Collins. So now it's 3rd and 13, and that decision to punt and play field position could look really good by Brett Bielema, depending on this play.
That's well said.
Here's Prescott from his own end zone. And that's Jamion Lewis.
Him tuck it and run. The speed option, the zone read option, QB draw.
And such the case there as he gave and Trey Flowers took. And the first team All-SEC preseason choice put him down. Good looking defensive end for Arkansas. And Graham, he may have muffed that ball. And they're still fighting for it. All the way back at the 25. I think that touched Graham. Arkansas signaling they've got it. We're waiting for the signal as they untangle the bodies. Arkansas football.
Most freshmen, what does he do? He takes his eyes off of the football here. Watch him at the last second. He's looking at those defenders around him. He's not squeezing that football.
Allen, complete. inside the 5 to Hunter Henry. It is 1st and goal, and boot is in. The sophomore running back with his 10th rushing touchdown of the game, and you see how upset Graham is. He muffed the punt, and Collins took it right home. 10-zip Arkansas. Here, cross state. Prescott's looking to break through. They bring pressure, and he was forced into that as it was Trey Flowers.
Earlier with the contact, and I love the little pressure call here on 2nd and 10, and Trey Flowers is relentless as anybody in this conference.
And then Robinson brought it in. College football. I think this guy's as good as it gets, and he's just living in the shadow of Dak Prescott. That time he was met right away by Trey Flowers, another good one.
And I contend Melvin Gordon.
Darius Philon involved too. 3rd down now. That is intercepted by Brooks Ellis. And now it's Arkansas in play with 2 timeouts remaining and 34 seconds.
Just enough to get in the way of the vision there, and Dak Prescott does not see Brooks Ellis. Missed the last 2 games with a concussion. He is back, and that's exactly what the sophomore can do. He's looking back. Look at him playing zone coverage. He's reading the eyes. Dak gets the vision blurred in front of him. Those numbers become advantageous to your side, and 230 pounds moving downhill. Tough to stop.
Robinson now. Taken down in the backfield by Trey Flowers. You don't even hesitate with this quarterback. Here's 4th and 1. And here's what Dak does. Quarterback lead, but he is short. They pursued it, and Dietrich Weiss. Allen downfield, stretching out for it was Cornelius. Jared Cornelius for a 16-yard reception. Look at this. And it looked like he had firm control throughout, even after that foot is down, Brock.
Pretty good throw on 3rd and 6, and I love moving the pocket.
Here's Hatcher now. As he lowered the shoulder, kept his balance, and fought for more. Pressure comes after him. He goes downfield, and it's incomplete. That was Trey Flowers coming in on Prescott. They're going to pass again. And this time he's going to connect with Keon Hatcher. Collins is going to give it a try. And he does it more. Here goes Alex Collins.
Against their weak side linebacker, but not Matt Wells. Not 220 pounds, running 4.35. That's the only thing that saves this play. What a tremendous block on the outside there from Hatcher coming in and blocking the free safety market. And there you see the speed. That's 4.35. A week ago, Sebastian Tretola was the #2 play on SportsCenter Top 10 for his touchdown pass on a fake field goal. Look at the big fella set up this run. Oh, and then keep an eye outside on Hatcher coming down and laying the block to free up his buddy Collins. I asked who was going to be the guy to step up. If you're going to beat #1 on the road, it's going to take more than just one.
Allen pressured. Got rid of it out to Hunter Henry. Great catch by the sophomore tight end.
He's a really good one, and that's on the guy we've been bragging about in Wells there, who's got the coverage, and you can see the help right over the top as well. And Allen's standing strong, knowing he's going to get whacked there.
Complete pass midfield. Hunter Henry again. Razorbacks are coming down the field. 15-yard reception. 3 for 3 now on 3rd downs in this drive as the official went down hard there in the mix. Allen to pass on 4th down. and wide open was Hunter Henry.
You love the bunch formation. They've gotten in this an awful lot tonight, but the whole key, as it was on the previous third down, some pressure there. A little line stunt from Mississippi State. You see Collins coming across, picking up that blitz.
Allen again. He goes underneath this time, and that is A.J. Derby, the other tight end, who spins his way inside the 5. They break that huddle so fast, and they pitch it to Williams. And Williams is trying to get there, but he's going to be just about 1.5 yards short. Here's Williams. Nowhere to go. Justin Cox.
It's moments like this that you play to your strength, and I think Brett's going to take a timeout.
He's thinking about it, or will they go with the play call? Here's 4th and goal. They're running. And Alex Collins couldn't get there. Beniquez Brown took his legs out. 2nd and 7. Here's Robinson again, this time taken down.
Opportunity to do the same here at home.
4th and 15. Launches it, desperation heave, and it is caught. Hunter Henry. Let's go back to that play to Henry. Look at this.
You can see just leveraging the body just enough there, Henry. That 6'5", 250-pound frame.
Brandon Allen on 2nd down. Tipped and right into the hands of Demetrius Wilson. Oh, Arkansas's got everything working on this final drive here. Allen steps up into traffic and caught by Henry again. He's running free inside the 20.
Got to get down now and spike the ball, save that timeout, and save these precious seconds unless you're going to hurry up and quick snap it. No time to waste here.
They're going to play it out. He's going to the end zone, and it is intercepted. Will Redmond saves the day for number 1.